Jason, last time we spoke to you, you said that the running game was maybe the strength of the offense heading into camp. Is that still the case in your mind, and how close is the passing game getting closer?
You know, we've made a lot of really good progress, both in terms of chemistry with, our main guys, but also all those young receivers, that get talked about coming in, being consistent, doing the right things. So it's been really good, a lot of good work, a lot of good progress. We've had 13 really good practices. And so we've made headway there. We'll see, where it continues to go. Because the quarterback's never live, so you're never getting all the feedback of would that pressure be getting home, would that block be holding up, and the quarterback getting whacked and getting the balls thrown and all that kind of stuff. So, but feel really good with where we're at, the progress we're making, and with just about 2 weeks to go.
Last year, you guys did a good job of cutting down on the turnovers you Devin Dampier from the year before at New Mexico. Is there things you can translate from that experience to Bryce this year, given the turnover issues you got last year?
Yeah, I mean, we really look hard at everything we're doing to put the quarterback in the best situations, to have him prepared, and to avoid anything as much that could become a problem, based off the defense and all the variables. And so part of that's you just grow as a player. From one year to the next, the game slows down for you. You've had more experience, so some of that's just the player growing and becoming. But it's also us understanding the player, and we knew Devin a lot better year 2 than we did that first year, and how to help him.
Over on the left, Chris.
Can you talk about how the offensive line is playing out, who the guys are that have kind of emerged there?
The offensive line's made really good strides. They've improved from where we were in the spring. Everybody's still in that competition. Jake's been like the leader, really consistent, reliable guy at the center spot. Andrew Sprague's played really good at the tackle spot, consistent. A lot of good competition going on with Babs and Blake at the left tackle spot. And then interior at the guard as well as backup center. There's, all those guys, Link and Afobe and Brady Norton and even Gatch. Gatch is in there playing physical. So there's a lot of good competition, depth, and between now and then, it'll just, just continue to work, see who's the most consistent and gets the nod, and always subject to change as it goes in the game.
You talk about the strides in pass protection.
Yeah, there's a step forward in the protection, especially on the edges, holding up on the edges, giving enough time, to make those reads. So it's been noticeable. I think our D-line's a very good group, so they give you great feedback and great competition every day with who's coming after the QB. And so we're getting great work every day in practice, and those guys they're taking steps forward. And they're showing up every day and working.
Over on the right here, Dennis.
Whittingham last week said that he would have given Underwood an A+. I think that was through 5 practices. Could you say how you think things have gone since then? And what would you say about him taking snaps under center? Is he serviceable there? Is that something that you want to do?
Yeah, it has not been a problem. Anytime we've gone under center, has not been a problem with a bobble or issue. We do every day. We start with this settle drill, and they're under center with the centers. So we start it every day. So he's very under center friendly. Some quarterbacks have never done it, and you gotta, lay there and, teach him everything. But he's been awesome. In terms of today, I think was practice 13. Bryce has had 13 good practices. I mean, he's just working hard, consistent. There's not these big ups and downs. In the spring, there were kind of some highs and some lows. It was a little more up and down, not in terms of work ethic and effort. He shows up every day with work ethic and effort, but just in terms of the results of the play. And he's had 13 good practices. He's been really steady. Tons to improve. It's hard to give an A+, just in terms of, I just remember the negatives. That's all that stands out is the questions you get wrong. But he's had a nice camp and is doing a nice job.
Over on the left, John.
Yeah, with Savion Hyder, you boys described him as 100% effort, even if there are mistakes made. How's he doing marrying the getting the technical side of it with that continued effort.
Yeah, same. Made a lot of progress, improved, becoming more consistent, more reliable. There's always an element of something can go a little off because we ask the backs to do quite a bit more than your normal offense, where the backs are just in here, getting handoffs and pass protecting. I mean, we line them up a lot of different spots. We motion them quite a bit. So that puts a lot more on a young kid to learn all that stuff. So he's done a really nice job as he's continued just to play really hard and great effort. And yeah, I'm really happy, really excited with everything he's doing.
Stay on the left there, Anthony.
Yeah, I know a lot of talk about Bryce, but how's the battle between Tommy and Brayden behind him been playing out?
Yeah, it's been really good. The initial first 3, 5, 6 practices, Tommy just had a clear advantage because he was so much more familiar. And even though Brayden, you're studying in the summer and you're doing all this, it's once you get in there, it's totally different, right? And so that first little bit he was kind of swimming. But within the last week, he's totally settled down and really closed the gap. As you'd expect, he's kind of been there, does a lot of really good things and has a lot of experience. And so he's really closed that gap of those two kind of going back and forth. So this whole week, they've just been splitting all the 2 reps and just kind of battling it out. And we'll see where it goes. Like I said, just closed it, kind of competing like crazy. We'll have to make a decision here at some point going forward, but really like the progress he's made. And that's more, Tommy's been getting better and doing a nice job. It's just Brayden's kind of caught up with everything settling in and just playing football now.
How are those two guys different?
Tommy's a little more mobile, a little more threat in the run game to pull and take off, has a great sense of extending plays and doing things kind of impromptu, where Brayden has a pretty big-time arm, and when he makes his decision, gets the foot in the ground, that ball's coming out, and he throws it really well, really accurate, and does it, a nice job that way.
Over on the right here, Tony.
Yeah, Jason, between Tavion Jordan and then Andrew and JJ, feels like there's a lot of weapons for this offense. Do you foresee and you were talking about the motions and the different things you asked some of the backs to do. Is 2 running back sets going to be something that you utilize in 4 wide receiver sets? Like how much of an emphasis is there to just get all the talent on the field?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to get our best players out there. And there's no doubt we have 3 backs that can play and help us. And so the ability to get 2 of them out there at the same time is a positive. Is what we have to balance that against is we're a little thin. We got 3 guys. So the second something changes, now you just got 2 guys doing the two back spots. And so we obviously have to have things in place for backups and depth and that kind of stuff. But it's a strength of what we're doing to have both those guys out there at the same time. There's also the ability of just having rolling fresh guys in there to keep them always fresh and going hard. And we got to balance that with we have 3 guys to go this season, and how much are we going to put 2 of them out there at the same time? So it's just kind of making that all work.
And then my other question was, when you're looking for the wide receiver 3, is there a specific skill set that he needs to have? It seems like the guys who are in that battle, based on what Andrew and JJ does, is there sort of an opening in your offense, or is it just whoever's making the most plays? How do you weigh that?
Yeah, we want to play to each guy's skill set. So in terms of who is the most consistent, gets results, delivers in what he's doing. And right now there's quite a few of them. And so when we set our personnel scripts going into a game, right now, a lot can change in 2 weeks. But right now there'll probably be, one guy's kind of the starter in this personnel group as that 3rd receiver, and a different guy's the starter in this other personnel group as the 3rd receiver, because they've earned that, and we'll just kind of continue to let it go until you just can't take somebody off the field, or something changes, and the dynamic goes from there. So both in terms of being the 3rd receiver and then also being the depth with Drew and JJ, as they need a breather and somebody's going in for them is what they're focused on.
Tony there?
You mentioned on the VTN show last week something about Bryce's footwork and that being kind of an emphasis through the offseason, how it's coming along. How much do you think that's lent itself to his kind of more consistent results in camp?
You know, it's interesting because, and I kind of mentioned this, when we got here, it was not, hey, here's the footwork and this is what we do. And it was install and go through spring. And now as we've gone through spring, okay, here's some things that I've seen consistently we want to work on. And he's made improvements in that, and it's shown up, and it's looked better, and allowed him to be, make some strides. However, that stuff is like the last thing you're thinking of. You're just, hey, here's the play, and here's my read, and here's the coverage, and here's, you're not thinking about that. And so whenever you start playing and bullets become live and real and all that, there's always an element of you're going to revert to, I don't know what the word is, but the subconscious, just whatever you're doing without thinking. And he's been really, anyway, so he's made nice strides. We'll continue to emphasize it and play to his strengths and put him in the best situations to be successful.
So it's just kind of training those better habits with it so he kind of doesn't fall back to whatever the muscle memory.
Yeah, try to keep it holding, keep working it, keep emphasizing it until that becomes the new normal, The new normal, that's a COVID thing.
Ryan?
Players have said how much more emphasis there is on conditioning compared to years past and how intense practices have been so far. I guess, how do you balance like pushing the limits in preseason camp without like maybe risking more injury?
So it's pretty scientific nowadays. I mean, they track these kids every day of workouts through the summer, so they know what their load is and what they can handle. And so they're working really smart with how much you can push them. So some days are hard, some days you got to pull back, and it just kind of goes back and forth. But the whole idea is you're constantly getting better shape, better conditioning, stronger, and building. And so, yeah, that's what we're doing. Obviously, there then becomes a time you got to get them fresh and back to being 100% on game day. So now there's a time to take that load off and let them recover. So between, you got these sports scientists and with Scott and the strength staff, and they got some real experts that know what they're doing and kind of tell you the best course to take. So we're getting them in that great shape to play hard and play longer, but also be smart.
On our left, Clayton.
What tight ends are standing out, and then what are your thoughts on how much rotation there could be based on situation without, showing too much of a tendency, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so it's been kind of the whole group is just, they were probably the most steady, consistent group in the spring, and that's continued through this fall camp. They each have strengths. Some guys are better at one thing than another. So there is kind of a platoon. Like you can see the whole group situationally helping with certain things that they can bring to the group. The Mason Bonner being the newest tight end, trying to get him going, figure him out. He has some unique tools as well that's kind of different than everybody else in the group. And so is that something he could, be counted on to do on game day? We're figuring all that out. But with all those other guys, they've been really steady. They've been doing a really nice job, very consistent. So I think you'll see quite a few guys be on the field with the tight end group.
Back right there, Austin.
Jason, how much philosophically is having a running quarterback just like a part of your offense and part of what you want to do? And how much of it is just if you have a guy who can run, then you want to feature that?
So I prefer it. And I've had a pretty good running quarterback for quite a while now. Going way back to when I was at BYU, we were in the get the best quarterback and play to their strengths. And so we had Taysom Hill, who was like the poster child of that, and then we had total pocket passers as the backup. And so we were able to just switch immediately between the two styles as something happened or if something happened. But with having the preference of what can we recruit and can we do, I love a guy that can be a weapon with his legs in the run game. Now, he still has to do the other thing at a high level, to throw the football and score points and win. But to have a threat with everything that way I definitely prefer it. And and it's probably been back to since those BYU days that we've had a guy that hasn't been a real weapon with that in the run game. Yeah.
Right here, Dennis.
You said earlier you had a decision to make about the offensive line. Is you're going to have starters going into game week, so there's not going to be an idea of where maybe the competition is still going, or you're...
Yeah, you'll kind of solidify on some reps and rotations, you know, as you're getting into your game week plan. But there's going to be, you know, there's going to be several of those guys playing. You know, it won't just be these 5 and that's it. There'll be guys because they're capable and they're good enough. And now it's just a matter of let's get the best 5 out there, as well as playing in the other guys that are ready. So whether you rotate them in a series here or there or whatever that may be, things change quick. So you always got to be working guys, improving guys, keeping all that going. So it's a good spot to be in.
Is that 6 guy that you guys deploy a lot, is that a tackle for sure, or is it, what's the skill set there for
that Rhino thing?
Yeah.
So Rhino thing kind of totally different. When I'm talking having these guys, that's just at the old line, you know, the best 5 there and the depth there playing and competing. At that Rhino spot, it's a combination of just knocking guys off the ball so you can run it, and then they can hold up in the pass game off of that. So we have not, for all the guys that are competing at the guard and tackle spot, we have not been messing with them in the Rhino spot because we want that thing to sort out first. We've been working guys in that, and that becomes an option later as things solidify, but not at this point because, you know, we're figuring out who the guards are, who the tackle is, and then we can adjust that thing, that next part, you know, at the Rhino.
For the Rhino?
We've been working 2 guys in practice, but subject to change based off those guard and tackle spots, you know, and how that goes. And, you know, I've been a part of, like, there's been times where, anyways, we can play to those Rhino skill sets too. It's not like we're locked in stone with that.
All right, last 2 questions, Chris and then Angelique.
Real quick, are you guys staying relatively healthy? Andrew working every day, Savion, guys like that?
Relatively healthy. There's always, you know, some stuff here and there where a guy may miss a practice or 2 or, you know, little tweaks. To this point, there hasn't been any major, you know, things coming up. But, man, that's just the day by day. You know, you see what's on the injury report and go from there.
And then when you're running the quarterback, if he's off limits in practice, how do you know what's working, and are there limits to what you can really tell about how good a guy is there?
Yes and no. I mean, you get a good feel on what things are going to, you know, what that play would have looked like, what the result would have been. Typically, and I'm just generally speaking, typically everything's better on game day because you really got to tackle the guy. So in practice, it can be close. And in a game, that turns into a lot bigger play. The question is, because the quarterback is off limits. Now, we made Tommy live for a few things. I always like the freshmen to see what they can really do in college football. But obviously with Bryce, yeah, we have not tackled him. And so there is that element of when it really counts, you know, what does that thing look like? Specifically just securing the ball, taking care of it, and how often can you get out of bounds or how often can you dive in the cave? Because nothing's better than a run where you don't get touched, you know. So how often can you do that versus the time you need to get the first down or, you know, protect yourself that way.
All right, Angelique.
Jason Kyle has talking to Bryce about not having to be Superman, not putting too much on his plate. That position, it seems inherent to that position. They want to make big plays. How do you coach that to, like, temper it and be smarter on the field?
Yeah, I mean, and there's quite a few of those things. It goes back to the running. You know, don't be Superman and try to run through people and take unnecessary hits and that kind of thing, as well as not forcing the ball into windows. And, you know, I can make every throw, and if I scramble, I'm just ultra aggressive. So the biggest thing for me is to make practice as game-like as possible. So most of the time, we just move the ball based off the result of the play. So that way it's 2nd and 7, it's 3rd and 9. It's, you know, you're in these situations, and if you don't get the first, you're off the field and the next group's up. So it puts the pressure on to keep the chains moving, to stay on the field. So it's not a drill to see what decisions they're really making. And when you get to the season, you know, there's all this great practice stuff, all this training, all this emphasis. When you get to the game, can you have that correct mindset, or am I going out there trying to do something different? And so we're just always hitting that, always pounding that, just make the routine plays, make the normal plays, make the routine plays. When everything breaks down, extend it, scramble, get what you can get. We work a lot of scramble drill to train them with that, and those decisions as well. So,
Did you think he had that mentality?
the Superman thing, you know, he's a very confident kid, and so but not necessarily like just doing dumb things, you know. So I've got the overall sense that he's confident, he believes in what he can do, but he hasn't been too risky. The mistakes have been more just missing something, or you know, that kind of thing, than just being overconfident and thinking he can do too much.